Hello, everyone. Tweeted. Discord went out. Great. Everything's going fine. We're in the middle of this case, as I've been for far too long now, if I'm being completely honest. We'll go here. Nice! Yeah, I just had one of the, maintenance guys come by because my bathroom light, it has an occupancy sensor, but it hasn't been working for a hot minute. But I managed to get it fixed the other day, and I figured, well, two things. One, I couldn't figure out how to cancel the maintenance request that I put in. So I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just have them come by anyway, take a look at maybe like the wiring or something, and figure out why it stopped working in the first place. He came by, and I explained the situation to him, and he was like, great, I'm just gonna replace the whole switch. And I was like, oh, okay. So you just came by and did that. And now it works perfectly fine. But the window wasn't closed. I'm pressing 5, and I'm pressing 6. Because once again, they're not offering the actual things of worth. But, I have a whole plate full of fucking cherries here. So, forgive me if I'm not reading, but I am enjoying the fuck out of these cherries. I honestly can't figure out this case either. Because the only possible explanation is that there was somebody else there, or somebody threw a knife or something. But clearly, or maybe not clearly, but I don't think that's the case. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel? Damn, he's out for her blood. He is laser focused on pinning her with something. Up there? What the heck? I didn't know there were going to be reactions to the jurors. It shouldn't be a huge problem. It's just something I did not expect. So, the window was closed. So I'm gonna press him and the old guy because I need actual things of tangible worth from them. Readies? My missus isn't one to mess about. You know, she could be fierce, believe you me. What? Why is this relevant? He's repressing memories of his marital disputes? Hold on, what did that give me? That didn't give me shit. That didn't give me fucking garbage. You're 75? On God? This guy almost burned his whole place down. I pointed this out, I think, either mentally or verbally. But I did say that because there was a fire, they were gonna open the windows. They had to. Could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the juror statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're gonna need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternate explanation. I'm just gonna I'm gonna go up on the juror in the stands and just start beating ass. Ugh. That cherry tasted fermented. So we're gonna press these. Actually, hold on. I just want to make sure his thing changed. Got a good one going. They do? How exactly? I would like to be famous. You should buy them for me, bot. It's super weird that, like, it's super weird that not weird, but I wonder if anybody, like, falls for those, you know, those, like, scam messages and stuff, because it's like, I'm pretty sure if you, like, buy followers or viewers or whatever on Twitch, they know, and then you get banned, I think. Banned or suspended or something like that. But, I wonder if anybody's done that, you know? And if somebody has, then they probably got banned for it, and they're probably pissed. Oh my god. She's speed drinking tea. Got her ass. I said nothing of the sort. Did you or your husband open the window? I'm insinuating that you opened the window to fucking let smoke out. Answer the question or I'll have you arrested for obstruction of justice. I remember now. She was beating the shit out of him because he got a love letter in his book. You know, I think maybe it might be worse to throw books at your significant other. The fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage, and the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading? It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. Now you come to mention it, yes. How was that relevant, bitch? She just keeps hitting that guy. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well, you know. Woo. Oh! We're just going down the line here. What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I remember what it was. The memory had blocked out. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garrett or the maid, I'll have you know. Oh no. I put my hand in the pocket for the wages I just earned that day, and I nearly died. It was a hole. Every last penny had dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? My wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear, stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep? God damn. He almost got fucking murdered. In cold blood. Now that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. Women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchet, hammers, you name it. Mr. Nahoda, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. You flipped me for breathing. Ugh. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to the bow and arrow thing later, if I dare. A woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. Let's see. Is this really what it is? Woman in a rage will hurl almost anything at you. The kitchen knife really brought that home to me. Are you for real? Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Sure, number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. Oh, hey, Dave. What the heck? Sorry. Colorado was good. It was a lot of fun. The weather was super nice. The views were super pretty. And everyone was just very nice there. It's very different from California. We were, and we postulated moving there in the future. But, we don't know if that's gonna happen yet. Now you listen here, you eastern guy. Okay. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. That was a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman. I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garrett household to the scene of the crime was... Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the fucking knife, right? That's the only thing. That's the thing that killed her. Yeah, it's gorgeous. We didn't go to, like, super rural, or, super urban areas, but we also weren't super rural either. So it was just very... like a good balance between the two, but it was also still just very like very vibrant, very luxuriously gorgeous. It was great. A super good time, much needed for both of us, I think. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. Are you saying that it flew out of the window and across the street to lay neatly in her hand? Huh, even my missus hasn't got an aim like that. Watch your fucking mouth, bro. You're gonna go home, she's gonna beat your ass. I'm going in. Have you seen this knife before or no? Oh. Oh God. I threw the knife at her. She's fucking dead. My lord. I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word after all. Thank you, madam. Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions. Fuck you. I hate you, Bruce Foreplay. I hate you too, hat bitch. Boom, 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 boom. What, the old man didn't change his opinion? We did it. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. So, as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided, and this trial will continue. Now then, Lord Van Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed? This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked vine, the first few sips are bitter enough. But what follows is so repugnant it's good for nothing saves a gutter. If I may, Lord Van Zieks, the defense has put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke, to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by saying that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative position of those places being discussed. He's just talking shit now, that's what he's doing. It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Gerardep household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Gerardep's house to the scene is some, 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards, that's around 14 meters. 14 meters? And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly note as having pretentious significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's finger and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more something than that. There's nothing I can say to that. She was still alive. That's what I'm thinking. She was... getting mad about maybe the wrong thing. But I think that she was still alive when the book was thrown. So she picked it up. But then it does not explain the blade. 15 yards. 15 yards. Yard is like 3 feet. So what, 45 feet? Could she? Throwing something 45 feet. 45 feet is... Well, actually, I don't know. I feel like I could throw something 45 feet. I don't think that is... I don't think it's that far. And unnecessary. Lord Van Zieks? There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes, and we must assume they will be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Casper B, prepare for duty, sir. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for choosing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on a automobile and it was appeared on my beat, sir. Oh? Hold on. Elaborate on that villain. Oh, Rolly, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request and order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir! This case has nothing to do with okay. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the garret bells are top hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Broly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed, but he was passed the fuck out. No. You were passed the fuck out. I don't believe you for a goddamn second, because you were sleeping. Oh, this is quite startling. Top hinged casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. You cannot excuse your senseless drowsiness every time, Constable. Sorry, but what exactly is a top hinged casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruto. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garredib's room. I didn't fucking look at it. Oh, okay. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. But as it's a top hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see? I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened past a certain amount. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife would have been thrown through the open window, it would have collided against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. You see the problem, then. Good. Your education on windows is complete. There is never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. Well, we are in a bit of a predicament now. So, I don't know if those... Because we met some other guys. We met two fucking weirdos before we came here. But I don't know if they're gonna be relevant, because I haven't seen them at all yet. That's not enough, bitch! How can you say that for certain? A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. It's what the job's all about. And that is why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you a Bobby's good for his word, while rubbing my tired eyes, admittedly. Sir! Oh, Rolly, you're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Disgusting. Get a room. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garredib? Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes, well, so, could you answer the question? Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my abilities, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garredib domestic dispute can't be related to the case. Before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I don't care. Answer the fucking question. So to that end, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my something, but I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you. I'll try. Nice. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the garret house have top-hinged casements. By which you mean they don't open fully, is that right? Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see, so they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime on the other side of the rather wide road. Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house is furnished with? Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday. You helped? In what way? Various members of the public were questioned in order to gather information about the case. That's right, sir. The sad truth is, we're all overworked. Shit, I missed my opportunity! Well, thank you. Oh, is it my turn now? No, it's not. Shut up! I gotta go back, you stupid piece of bitch! Now I gotta jam through all this. One more time. Oh my god. Yeah, we get it. Mark my map again, why don't you? How do you even know? Why would this? Get her ass. You! Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat? Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering, that's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see? Oh, I hadn't realized. Oh yes, that street, Briar Road, that's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? He's gone. He's out. Constable Beat. Yes, that's right. History is always helping out with interviewing the occupants of the garage of Housewood yesterday. The house was on my beat, you see, sir. Wow, that's crazy. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garretup household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Garretup's house? Yes ma'am. The pavement on that side is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. Uh-oh! There's a motive! Oh. No, I think you moved the body, you fake bitch. That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. The pavement where the victim was found lies just outside Constable Beat's beat. And now it's my turn, I think. And we're just going down the line. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star. Sorry? The star that will guide us to eternal happiness. Blech. Excuse me. Can't it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said, 3 times at least. Of course, with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir. Certainly seems like they're telling the truth. And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her. I don't believe you for a goddamn second. He was passed out. You guys said so earlier yourselves. If it had been on Royley's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Royley told me the way, only I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat. Oh, Roly. Get a room! Oh, please. So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes, but like I said, my Roly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for 1 moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Said you were fucking sleeping, dude. We know this. That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the yard's honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir. That seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garradib household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Haha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the crime scene. Is that so? Something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries of how the knife ended up in her bag and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir. Oh, yeah, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? What? I wasn't really... I mean... Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. I never said that for a second, ma'am. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? Yes, Mrs. Bede, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes, the path of least resistance is the sage one. I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't. Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. So is that the... Yeah, okay. So this is the new statement. Yoink! Mrs. B, nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw it, I did. That evening I saw it clearly. That little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back skulking away. And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. Yes. Great. Fantastic. You're doing great. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes. Well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross. Shit! What are you gonna say, bitch? Constable Beat, is there a problem? No problem, sir. Did your wife's remarks just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Well, anyway, sir, yes, sir. I was remembering the same thing happened the other day. You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident? Well, you see, I set her out to find a police boss and to be over from mine. She was kind of fair longer than what I was expecting. So I thought that I should be back inside 10 minutes, but my drive was gone a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly. The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for it with farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds. Underpaid and overworked, just like all of America's workforce. But yeah, it was between us. Not talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh. What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo, but I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet. Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to. So I think this is the new statement, right? Yeah, it is. Doink. Hurry up, I'm tired of you. You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset when we ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first. And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on. Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again, but the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all. In case you need reminding, Mrs. B, the victim is not deceased. I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road. Your husband, presumably. That's right. Silly me, I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. No, he moved the body. He moved the body so he wouldn't have to deal with it. Bro, 100%. I'm banking on it, bro. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting. By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this solitary rose? That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary with old bits of change he found in the gutter. Maybe just call it a rose. Just one. Tell us, Lord Van Zeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Garrideb household. I told you, bro! He moved the body! Although it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. No, I think for good measure this rose should be added to the court record as evidence. Oh. Uh-oh. It's over for you. Jail. I want it back after the trial, do you hear me? I want it back. Good grief. Rest assured I will do my very best to not forget, Mrs. Beat. You claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes regarding the scene. But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with a policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped to the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby. Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. Meager? But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rolly didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way round. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrideb's book. Mr. Garrideb's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out of the window by his wife, would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. Yeah, get his ass. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong. Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says, withering on upon books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is. Oh, good. Mrs. Garrideb's come around. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrideb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle but compelling reason. Tampering. You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate ruse? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? I think it was fucking Rolly, dude. R. Could I? Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat, it was you. What? A policeman? A member of Scotland Yard? What nonsense. Why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobby works more tirelessly than him. Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it. If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well... First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone will commit such a reckless crime. To hide something. That's right. He's right. But my husband and I just happen to be there, that's all. So why would we have anything to hide? It doesn't make sense. You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. And until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. So he could have been promoted, I think, if he were not, if he, didn't have to deal with this. He was en route to be promoted. So he needed it to not be on his beat. Either that, or he just wanted to go to his fucking wedding anniversary. Or he was just tired of working. Come on. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with a crime scene was to hide where the victim fell. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here, as if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? What? I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? On the west side, baby! But that's... on the opposite side of the road. I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Daredev's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious! Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimonies the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right. I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground when you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid. That was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable B then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes that you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all of the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook? The bouquet, I presume. Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond, Constable Rowley Beat? Well, very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rowley. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding and righteous man I know. I had a dream. Terrible dream. All the things I did that night, everything come out. Everything exposed. Oh shit. Only it seems wasn't a dream at all. Good golly! Got his ass. Order! What on earth is the meaning of all this? Oh, Rowley, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town. You can't say so. What? I really am. I'm so sorry about all this. For James and the Yard's reputation, for everything. I have a possible explanation for why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Zeeks, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter so far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence. At once, my lord. England, Japan. It makes no difference where you come from, human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions? His fucking job, bro. I'm pretty sure it's this one. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learnt that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. But for Constable Beat, the Dan question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife, and was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. Then he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them. What must have gone through the... Oh wait, I think this is me, actually. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a Bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. So he forged evidence. Lose your job! Jail time! Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Oh, Constable Beat. Is that, or is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said, it's all right. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious. Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to this scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? And why tonight of all nights? Why? Damn. It's a cop's job to guide the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat, so you have to go to the police box that covers it. Turn right along Meerschaum Street and then... Susanna, don't feel bad for this guy. Fuck this guy. He's a cop. It's entirely his fault. He made that decision. Consciously or unconsciously, he made that decision. It's all on him. Get his ass fired. Jail! Jail! Your tears mean nothing to me, bitch! Lose your job! Get out of here! Put him in jail! I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rolly, just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction, just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon? Oh, of course he did. Otherwise, my Rolly would never have left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. I see your meeting now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly. And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? Oh, 4 it was. Yes, definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Gyarados household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand, when all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean? Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. Interesting. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see? There were only the 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. Yeah, bro, get fired, stupid ass. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks. I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Alright, hold on. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. almost back. Hold on. Okay. Now I'm back. I ate too many cherries and it made me have to go poop. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him? For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course. Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. All right then, my love. One last thing, Constable. Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Never again, sir. You mean to say... Leave. Now. This trial is not over. Oh, he's kind of a good guy. You're gonna try and protect him, maybe. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of the crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Personally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could have committed a crime. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there is someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Lord Van Zieks, is this true? Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime. And that I will! Pow! Oh. Pow! The defense would once again like to request a cross-examination of a new witness, my lord. Once again. My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case, it's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Garadeb. Me? Oh, dearie, me? That request has already been denied. But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Garadeb, answer me this. What do you want now, you little toad? At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Garadeb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited, and to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road. Well, what of it? You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open top-hinged casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Yes, and as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you could lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Garadeb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before? I don't recall it. You're a fucking liar! Seriously? Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? And anyway, the man over there in all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify, didn't he? Conveniently, yes. No. I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4. Make no mistake. You jurors are not special in any way. You are not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madam, let the truth come out. But that's just a common or garden knife. We have several like that at home. If one went missing, how would you expect me to know? What's that? Are you joking? What are you saying, please, Mrs. Garadeb? Now you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I couldn't bear the thought that I'd injured someone. Do you hear? I couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now, chop chop, do your worst. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, if I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already. Then take the stand, juror. Oh! The prosecution does not object to the defense's request to cross-examine this woman. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm going to have to testify? Juror number 4, as I'm sure you will appreciate having observed it with your own eyes today, witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truths of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware. So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Garadeb, and mark my words. In this court of law today, we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels? Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm moving for, my lord. Yeah. Get her ass, I'm tired of this bitch. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer. Put that teapot down! I don't know if you have a weapon in there. Witness, state your name and occupation. Oh, yes. My name is Joan Garadeb, and I'm a juror and such like. It sounds like even she doesn't know if she's a housewife or a maid. Or what anymore. The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madam? Yes, my lord. You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth. Oh dearie me. Chin up, Jody. Nothing to worry about now. Where did you come from? Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? Rather think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Don't you worry about that. Hardly notice it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. I presume you're Mr. John Garadeb? Yes, sir. Former second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northern Lumberland Firships. Seen my fair share of action living the quiet life now. The quiet life. Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Well, yes. Quiet. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. However, the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. The Battle of Garadeb. Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. I knocked a candlestick over and set the fire to the carpet. Soon after that, though, got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if one or two went missing, I'm afraid. That bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours. You'll have a job proving it, I think. And that I will. Sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Also, an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy cut us on the hop, sir. Had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, a veteran such as myself. There's only two ways that on every battlefield you're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment. Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here? Well, I must say I'm dubious that this testimony will shed any light on the origins of this jackknife. In combat, one's focus narrows, such that surroundings are barely noticed, as these witnesses may not be able to offer anything more since they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Van Zeeks may well be right. Well, whatever the chances, we only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well, counsel. Begin your cross-examination. I'm gonna cross-examine the fuck out of you two, you dumb hoes. Alright, let's see. On the day referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason. Knocked a candlestick. Oh, wait. I can... Do I have that little kissing note? That's gonna be a negative, Chief. I could press this one because I think he does recall the reason. Soon headed out, got the window open. Perfect, we know that. I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Including knives, bitch! Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if one or two went missing. If that bony thing in the victim's back really wasn't one of ours, I'll have a job proving it. Why? Why were you so angry? Even though the room was on fire? As far as I was concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. That is most certainly not true of a suicidal takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did she know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day? In all honesty, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, and a sponge, a napkin. You look like you have something to say, you pointy-eared freak! Do you have something to add, sir? Mr. Garadeb. Don't shoot. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind? Nothing of any significance, no. It was just that the barrage of projectiles the only thing launched in my direction, which is somewhat more solid that she applies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker I seem to recall. And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit with every body. Good grief, woman, we're not at home now. This is a court of law. Oh, dearie me, ever so sorry, dear. What's she even doing with a teapot in here? Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such things at you, obviously. Well, take a look at this, then. How do you suppose that happened, Your pipe, sir? Now, this thing in my hand is usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did, yes. But when I went to pick that thing up, it was broken in two. I'd like to see a sponge do this sort of damage. I see. Your pipe was broken. It would never have been set flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now. You are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear? I wonder what we should make of this account. It could be important! The defense believes Mr. Garrett's remarks just now to be of great significance. This war veteran's words only tell us of one thing. Betray a fiery wife, and pipes as well as hearts may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the formal testimony. Indeed. Common sense, one might say. In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir? Well, I don't see why not. Oh, dearie me, there you go again, trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady. Very well, the court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence. Alright, let's examine this shit. I hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruto. Let's see. Pipe. Oh, that thing is fucked up. Oh. Something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe there. Yes, I saw it. Something's stuck in there, I think. Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What's this? It's a tiny fragment of metal. It looks like the tip of a blade or something. The tip of a blade? Surely it couldn't be. Oh, shit! I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down. Oh no, it's fine. Thanks to Susato-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully. Already did! Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Garrett. Now if we could return to the crux of the matter. What can you tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim? Now we can present the metal piece. Really was one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think. And, you bet your bippy I will. Shit. Wait, do I... I'm gonna print this, I think. Mr. Garradeb, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please? You can ask, but I can't see a baldy thing. You can't? You used to call me dead on dead back in the regiment, of course, but that was some time ago now. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days, I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest. Oh, he does. Dear me, it's rather wearing being asked about every other letter and every other word. You must be very dizzy. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal? Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where does the defense come by this evidence? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Garradeb's pipe. My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is in some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? That I am. I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of the case, my lord. Ah, she's standing on a box. You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence, when paired with this fragment of metal, allegedly reveals the truth of this entire case? This is the knife that was found in the victim's bag. If you look closely, you will see that there is a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. A common issue is the inferior blade sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim. Or so you think! The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Garadeb's pipe. Good grief. Lord Van Zeeks? I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Good golly gosh. Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery? This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle. A miracle? So Van Zeeks has figured it out, has he? Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once. Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Garadeb's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony. Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of the soft projectiles she did, yes. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh, dearie me. During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Garadeb flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Garadeb, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course. Good lord! Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Garadeb's pipe. The chances of that are 1,000,000,001! And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Garadeb's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the side something street. So they probably threw the book out. She leaned down to pick it up, and as she leaned down to pick it up, the knife came crashing out of the window and stabbed her in the back, just by the force of gravity alone. A full-bodied theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument. But after all, it is just a theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because you see, it's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency. Yeah, go ahead, bring it up. I know exactly how I'm gonna defile that. An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back. Yes, in her... Ah! That's right, you silly little man! Now, Joan, what are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that had struck her had fallen from above, there's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back. Order! Quite right, you see, that's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head. Well, he's lost for words. Look, I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place. Well, I don't know, though. What really did happen? It would appear the defense has made a rather spectacular blunder. If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history. It's not. We are on the right track. Nope. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand. Miss Susato? You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all, and your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there. It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed. This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is. What are you implying? Counsel? There's a piece of evidence in the court record that explains this inconsistency. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer. Goodness! Utter madness. Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak. This is the last inconsistency. The final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is the fourth book. Got it! This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present. The burnt book? Is that not Mr. Garadeb's book? Yes. And to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But as we all now know, it was the police constables that puts the book between her fingers like that. Quite so, as part of his wholesale transplanting of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road. That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh, well, sir, this because that's how I found it. Oops. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. I was right, dude. I killed it. I murdered it in cold blood. I got this in my head, bro. In other words, the victim had already picked up the book of her own volition, and clearly that must have been before she suffered the knife wound. Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything. So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand? But Jinko, I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now. Oh, dearie me. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the Garadeb household onto the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past. Yes, at exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. The book I threw. Yes, Mrs. Garadeb, and what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up. Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. Oh heavens! And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. And at that same time, walking by chance directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Hey, well, I never. It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above. And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No. This was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Ooh, I got his ass. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. Owned! The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, old bean. Poor Mrs. Garadeb. Of course, I never meant of anything for the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me, and I threw the knife as well. Got her ass, bro. We did it. We're free. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry! She's dead. We killed her. I threw the knife at her. It's over. Come on, military man. Lord Van Zeeks, what news of Mrs. Garadeb? She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events have left her in an especially flustered state. But I believe she will recover in due course. There's no cause for concern. Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, a cause we could have... But what the hell? I reached for some fucking hand sanitizer and it shot straight out. I look like I peed myself because I'm standing. On God, bro, what the hell? Oh, I forgot this guy. Yes. On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture and have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies. No. It is me who should be begging your pardon. Oh no, Mr. Natsume. That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion. What conclusion, sir? I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him. Yes, poor man. So when it happened, well, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. Oh, I should never have dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires, and for that, I am truly sorry. Everyone's like, damn, so he's not crazy. One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by the spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Van Zieks and a young lawyer here from the East, that chain has now been broken, and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both. Oh. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? As a foreman of this jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion. I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure. Sitting in for the old dean wishes that action, you know, but I know what her decision would be. Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start work? Well, it's about time.
I say, I don't have a quark of a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I?
Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman, not guilty.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Boom! I say. Very well. Mr. Soseki Natsume, and now I hereby pronounce you not guilty. I knew this from the start. And finally, Mr. Natsume. Oh, yes, Lord, sir. You are now a free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture, and may you never again be brought before me. Oh yes, sir, of course. On my life, I swear I'll never set foot in the courtroom again. I'm gonna skip jury duty. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned. 20th February, 3:17 p.m. The Old Bailey Defendant Antechamber. Oh, Locum! Wait, you mean me? Of course! Is there another Locum here? Is there even one? Compared to the original Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, at last I'm free! I'm free! Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation! Heady, hearty happiness! Hurrah! Oh, I am pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard just to say that, then? Locum, you did it! You saved me from the brink! Well, what happened to the poor woman who was in no way your fault, after all? I'm just glad everyone can see that now. No, not that! Lovely, loyal, Locum lawyer! Yes? I mean,
As I said before, I've just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners. I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me laughing. Look at that little hunchback.
Oh dear. I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume.
But today, you, locum lawyer, gave my gloom the boot. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barrister ever born!"
Well, that's very flattering. And we're very pleased for you.
This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan.
An anecdote? Is that what's to become of all my hard work? Oh God, I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you.
I see I am here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say.
Oh.
The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruto, and I wish you the very best of luck. It's just finished.
What?
No, then my haste was in vain?
Oh, it's you! Hairlock Sholmes!
Oh,
and we met, sir?
This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, I see! I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light. Charming.
This is all your fault, Hairlock Sholmes. You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind.
My apologies, sir, but I assure you I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Had she been taken to hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now.
Oh.
But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience.
I do feel very badly about how I behaved.
Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir?
Nothing.
Priceless! Oh, I am sorry, really, but... well, that was quite priceless. Poor Soseki-san. Still, on the bright side, you had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty.
But there's no bright side.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume?
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits and now by the Reaper.
Lord Van Zeeks.
I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're not found guilty, you're still doomed.
It will be all right, Mr. Natsume. If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you. Oh, why me? With a perfectly executed Susato takedown. Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Miss Susato. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan.
Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon.
Oh.
It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here and the city it has shaped. And I've come to realize that it is my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it.
That's very touching, Mr. Natsume. Or, in perhaps less veiled terms,
You wish to withdraw halfway around the world, escape the terror of the Reaper's curse. That's not it at all! The more I learn of literature, the more this strange feeling claws at my insides. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own. Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read. And what about Mr. Sato and yourself, Mr. Naruto? Sorry? What about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. And only now does it feel as though we have finally found our feet. And you're accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not? That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted. Well then, you could take my lodgings. Oh, the windowless room. But what it lacks in windows is more than makes up for with a floor, a ceiling, and walls. And of course, I'd be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit. Oh my, an evil spirit? Oh yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call. We'll think about it, if that's alright. Perhaps I can offer a more welcoming alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me? Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself, though it is up in the attic, I might add. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of. Oh, this is simply wonderful! What an honor to be invited to take in lodgings in the great detective office's attic. I'm too overcome for words. So suggesting we look elsewhere is out, then. Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. I don't know what to say. But thanks, and yes! Wonderful, then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shouldn't take long. Locum, I knew that you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you too. It's a shame that we're gonna have to say goodbye so soon. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then I'll be a successful lawyer. Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author. Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruto? Yes, Mr. Schultz. I've little doubt, Mr. Natsume, we'll be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home, 221B Baker Street. Hey, this is actually kind of nice. So this is to be our new office. Yes, our office? I rather like the sound of that. Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it? I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I'd like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Oh, he's got a new outfit. I'm Mr. Sholmes. Thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it. Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you. I hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We have a lot to celebrate. Iris, you must let me help you. Alright then, Susie. You can be in charge of the salad.
Why did she take out a gun? So, Mr. Naruto, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us. Those are precisely my saloons when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry? London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. The brightest of lights casts the darkest of shadows. I fucking knew it. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So, once again, Mr. Naruto, welcome to London. Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Shom so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came, to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Poggers! Finally finished case 4. I don't know why that took me so long. It really shouldn't have. But we did it! It's a Poggerino! Let's see. Episode 5. Okay, so I'm almost done with the first game. That's crazy. The Hound of the Baskervilles? That sounds familiar. Alright, and then... Alright, so we're gonna wrap here today. Tomorrow, I'm not sure if I'm gonna stream, because I think I have to go dog sit at my parents', and I'm not gonna have my computer with me, therefore I do not know if I'm gonna be able to stream. Then Wednesday, I should be back. So then Wednesday, Wednesday I should be back. So Wednesday we're gonna finish case 5, which is the last case of the first game. And then on Thursday, which is the last day that I have before I go to Big Bear for the weekend, Thursday we'll probably just do some short cases, some escapades, I think they're called. Because I guess each game has like some short little sub cases that you can do, some little side stories and stuff. DLC, if you will. And I believe that there are some for the first game that I can do, and those should be relatively short, so I can probably just pad out like an entire, cases worth stream, quote unquote, in, with just those games. But, we'll play that one by ear as it goes, but other than that, thank you everyone for tuning in today. Appreciate your support as always. I will see you all not tomorrow. I will see you all on Wednesday with the final case of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. And on Thursday, we'll do Great Ace Attorney Chronicles 1 Escapades. Sounds good. Yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. I appreciate your support as always. And I'll see you all on Wednesday. Bye-bye.